Miami Heat get some new life in a potential Kevin Durant trade. Zach Lowe presents a trade package that I think is pretty interesting. Let's talk about it, Heat Nation. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe as we push for 7,000 subscribers. Now that we got that junk out the way, hit the intro.
That is enough said.
How we doing, Heat Nation? Your boy Ernest here, back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Video number 2 of the day, you guys, because you know I'll be spoiling you at times. Really appreciate you guys' support. Now, please join me as we go on another Miami Heat Talk adventure. Now, the reason why I'm cutting a second video today, you guys, is because I want to go back and talk about Kevin Durant. Now, I posted a video earlier today with the potential of the Miami Heat trading for possibly Jrue Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis. Reason why I mentioned that is because reports came out indicating that Boston's looking to move both players. They want a first-round draft pick for Jrue Holiday, but then they're also probably going to have to send out a first-round draft pick if they're trading Kristaps Porzingis. So it was very two interesting trades. But in this episode, the reason why we're going back to Kevin Durant, you guys, and I'm sure all of you heard it, Brian Windhorst and Zach Lowe have given specific updates about Kevin Durant that I want to talk about. Now, let's start with Brian Windhorst because his wasn't really that big. But Brian Windhorst was on an episode today of The Jump, and he did express his belief that the Kevin Durant trade will happen within the next few weeks. What they said today on Get Up is that the moment that the NBA Finals are completed, Brian Windhorst stated that the moment the NBA Finals are done, free agency period begins. Teams are waiting. Now, there was another report that I mentioned earlier today by Bill Simmons, where he indicated that the Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs already had an agreement for Kevin Durant to go play with the Spurs. I don't really think that's the case. And San Antonio is one of these teams that are going to be vying for Giannis. I know Giannis hasn't requested a trade, but that could change. Now, some of these teams may think, I'm not waiting for Giannis. If I can get KD, I'll go get him now. So there is a little bit of truth to that. But the fact that a trade is done, I don't think that's 100% true. Now, Zach Lowe, I want to get to Zach Lowe because he said some interesting stuff regarding Kevin Durant to the Miami Heat. Now, if there was a trade already done to San Antonio, I think a lot of other people would report it. I think Bill Simmons is just talking out of his ass. I really don't believe anything he says. But if other people, especially Zach Lowe, who's one of the biggest inside journalists for the NBA, if he's reporting that there's still an opportunity for Kevin Durant to go to Miami, I'm going to listen to that. This is what Zach Lowe said. Miami is going to get involved. They can talk themselves into a nucleus of Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Kevin Durant, plus whatever decent young players are left over here can get us somewhere. They're going to have to give up one of Jovic or Hawkes in any kind of trade like that. End quote. So he said a lot of other things. I don't really think that those are really important. They don't really speculate for the Miami Heat. But Zach Lowe also came up with a trade package, and it was very similar to what I've been saying. But in a nutshell, and I will say that Zach Lowe also indicated that there's other teams vying for Kevin Durant. You have the Minnesota Timberwolves, the New York Knicks, the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Miami Heat. Now, here's the trade package that Zach Lowe said the Miami's going to have to give up. It's going to be a package surrounding 2 of the 3 players, Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, or Terry Rozier. Phoenix can take 2. They're going to have to decide between Nikola Jovic or Jaime Hawkes, not both. The Miami Heat do not want to include Kel'el Ware in this trade. I do not give a crap if Phoenix says they wanted a center for Kevin Durant. They're not getting Kel'el Ware. They're not. He's a cornerstone player for this team. He has a great, he has a great game with Bam Adebayo. You don't want to mess that up. You want to add to that. So Kel'el Ware is not going to be in the offer. But it's going to be one of those 3 players, a young asset like Hawkes or Jovic, and the 20th pick in the draft on June 25th. Now, I mentioned this last week, but a big reason why Phoenix is trying to get this trade done before the draft is because if they do the trade, they can get the 2025 draft pick. Phoenix has no picks they control until I believe 2030 or 2031. So they want to get a first round draft pick for 2025. The only way you can do that is if you make a trade at least before or on the draft. Why? Because once you sign a player in the draft and sign them to the rookie scale contract, you cannot trade them for 30 days, which is deep into free agency. So it's going to kill any momentum you have. So right now, what the trade package that Zach Lowe is saying, a combination of Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier with Nikola Jovic or Jaime Jaquez Jr. and the 20th pick, I'm okay with that trade. Now, something else I'd like to mention that was discussed on Zach Lowe's podcast was the fact that he mentioned that there were 5 different teams that have strong interest in potentially trading for Kevin Durant. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the New York Knicks, the Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, and the Miami Heat. I'll say it right now, I don't think Houston is really going to make that push. They've said that they're not looking to trade for a player that doesn't meet their age line, and I don't really think it's the best fit. With Minnesota, New York, and San Antonio, they're all threats, but I will say this. None of these teams have something that the Miami Heat have that they can offer Phoenix. None of these teams have a player that's on a partially guaranteed contract. The Miami Heat has Duncan Robinson's contract, which is almost $20 million this season. Half of that is guaranteed, as long as he's released by July 8th. So that's another reason why this trade may work, because this can be done by or before the draft. Phoenix can get Duncan Robinson's contract and they can release his contract, because a very important thing that Phoenix is trying to do is stay under the second apron line. If you're a repeater second apron team like Phoenix is, they're going to have a huge luxury tax bill for a team that didn't even make the playoffs. That's why Boston is trying to move Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis maybe, because they're paying $230 million on salary for this team, but now their luxury tax bill is going to be about $280 million because they're a second apron team. Even though Matt Ishbia doesn't care, they're still trying to get under that second apron. So with a trade for Kevin Durant, Duncan Robinson can be the key, because none of these teams have a contract like Duncan has. Now, I would prefer if we sell Phoenix on Duncan Robinson and Terry Rozier, both on expiring contracts, so you can get them off your books after the 2026 season. I'm sure between Jovic and Jaquez, they'll most likely go with Jovic because he's what they're looking for, a guy that can play power forward, maybe sometimes center. I'm not saying he's a center, that's Phoenix's issue. And then they'll have the 20th pick. They can get their center with that pick. But if you can sell Phoenix on that and you can put Kevin Durant in a starting lineup with Kel'el Ware, Davion Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, that's a lethal starting lineup. In an Eastern Conference next season, that's going to be completely hampered. I understand that people are not going to want Kevin Durant because of his age, but look at where he fits with this team. We need another ball-dominant scorer. That's what he is. We need someone that gives us flexibility after the 2026 season. That's what he can provide. We need a player that can help us contend in the East. That's Kevin Durant. All the signs point to Kevin Durant. So if it's me, I'm making this trade. But Heat Nation, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as we push for 7,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. And until next time, your boy Ernest out, and that's enough said. Yeah, buddy.